Alright, welcome ladies and gentlemen to the official one and only Smite super builds. It's been almost a year since the last Arachne build, so it's about time to do an update for her. Now, I want to go to her abilities for the newer players to Smite and or to Arachne and how her abilities matter into actually building Arachne. So, let's start with her passive here. Arachne's basic attacks gain 1.5% physical damage for every 5% of her target's missing health. Next, her Venomous Bite. Upon activation, her next successful basic attack does additional damage, as well as apply a damage over time effect, and as well as a healing over time effect on yourself. So that kind of acts as your sustain, so we can get away without building a lifesteal item if we don't really need to. Next, her Cocoon. Upon activation, within the next 6 seconds, her 3 next successful basic attacks have an increased attack speed of 70%. But since it's such a high percentage, we don't want to be building too much attack speed items, or else that attack speed stat gets kind of useless, since we will be easily overcapping with at max rank 70%. Next, the final point I want to go, or one of the final points I want to go into, is her web. It does have a long cooldown, but you can use this to, of course, slow down your target. You place it in front of them, they walk through it, and you slow them down. They leave a web trail behind them, and you walk on that, and you can move faster. So since we are such basic attack dependent, we need to be able to stick to our target. Of course, we have 2 abilities that do this, but they have sort of a longish cooldown. So we can look forward to building a cooldown reduction item such as Yoan's Wrath, so we can make sure we have these abilities off cooldown, so we can make sure we can stick to our target, get our full damage off, and get the kill. So let's go into actually building Arachne. Now, of course, if you're playing Arachne in Conquest, you definitely want to go with the jungler. Well, let me rephrase that. If you're playing Arachne in Conquest, more than likely you're probably jungling. If so, you definitely want to go into the Bubba's Mask to help you out there. If not, you can be playing in the solo lane. That's another somewhat decent option to play in. You could go into the Death's Toll, since it is very heavy basic attack dependent for the passive and things like that, giving you a lot of sustain. Now, outside of Conquest, you don't really need start items. The only other case would probably be like League Joust or something like that, where you can go to the Death's Toll. But let's go into the boots. More than likely, you probably want to go to the Warrior's Tabby. It's a lot better pickup for Arachne. Now, since we have such a steroid on our attack speed, of course it's just for 3 successful basic attacks, but it can still make that, attack speed stat kind of useless, so we don't want to be building too much attack speed like I stated earlier. And after you go to your boots, it will be a great time to go into a cooldown reduction item, since you do want to get that maximum usage out of it, and that only makes sense to be picking it up early. In this case, it would be the Yoan's Wrath. Next, we do want to have some attack speed items, since we are very basic attack dependent. And also, a basic tip for any build that you want to do damage, you definitely want to have penetration. And the best item for that is the Executioner, offering power, high attack speed, and the passive works really well with your abilities, with the 3-hit combo for her Cocoon, as well as just basic shredding of the physical protection, so you can maximize your damage output. Now, from here, it kind of depends on what game mode you're playing. Now, if you're in Conquest, of course, this will look a little bit different. For Conquest, you have the Bubba's Mask, this here, and then you will have Executioner, and then you're left with 2 open slots. For now, I mean, of course, you can always sell the Bubba's Mask later, but it kind of looked like this. And then at this point, you probably want to go for the basic attack oriented items, the Rage and Deathbringer, in order to maximize your damage output with your basic attacks. And then of course you can go back to your starter item, whether it's Death's Toll or Bubba's Mask, and you can have some other item here. You can go into Frostbound Hammer. This kind of leads into like optional items for your build for Arachne, and that one of them is the Frostbound Hammer. The Frostbound Hammer definitely lets you keep up the pace with your target. As soon as you start hitting them, they get slowed by 30%, sorry. So they have their movement speed slowed by 30%, as well as they have their attack speed reduced by 15%. So if it's like a ADC or something like that, and they start trying to fight back, well, they're not going to be doing the maximum amount of damage per second as they used to. So between this and your web, if you can hit your target with your web, you can easily keep up the pace with them and make sure you land all your basic attacks. And for the similar effect, you can go into the Haze of Mentalis, but you may be overcapping. We can actually test that here. So we have 1.9 And yeah, it'd be hitting the 2.5 and most definitely overcapping there. But you can still pick this up if you still want the similar effect to the Frostbound Hammer. Is basically the same thing. You have increased attack speed, which that actual stat is different from Frostbound, obviously, but you have the increased movement speed, as well as you have no movement speed penalty upon basic attacking. And going to the last optional item that you can pick up, let's kind of just sell all these here so it looks a little bit better, a little bit cleaner. You can go into the Igavol, which will probably be a good pickup in the earlier stages of the game because the stats actually mean more. So you can go into Igavol. It's a very cheap and efficient item. It's great for boxing targets, like let's say maybe a League Joust where it's 1v1, or maybe for a solo lane Arachne build where you know you're fighting against like a Bakasur or something like that. Then you can go into the Igavol. You can probably also pick this up if you're jungling in Conquest as well. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up for the build video. One last thing, actually, if the enemy team has a lot of HP oriented gods, or they just building a lot of HP, of course you can go to the Shin size. Never forget the Shin size, it's always there for you. But yeah, that would definitely wrap it up for the build video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.